entrepreneurial, more independently directed work is either indifferent or even negative toward unions, because why would you need one? And what I have found is that a great deal of the depression in wages results from the concerted effort to undermine union membership and union ability to organize for better wages and benefits. So, for example, I was in in Kentucky recently, and I was talking to some steel workers who are out of work because their plant is facing a lot of competition from China. And one of the men there was saying that they are now comparing their wages, because what's happened is that even though if they still have union jobs, their wages stay up, the downward pressure on wages with no real countervailing pressure is affecting everybody, not just people in unions, whether they're employed now or laid off, but it goes all the way down the line. And when you think about it, that sort of makes sense, because part of the reason behind unions was to provide a countervailing balance against really unaccountable employer power. And we have a lot of problems with wages and middle-class lifestyles and incomes in the country today. And one of our problems is that we have so undermined both public sector and private sector unions that they can't hold on to what they've bargained for with their employees. And as they go sort of down, they take everybody else down, because there's no pressure to raise incomes for non-unionized workers. And it's a real catch-22 that we're caught in. And I just feel strongly that if you look at what's been happening in corporations, and this is corporations across the board, they are seeing workers' wages, pensions, benefits as the easiest cost to cut. Mm-hmm. And they're under big pressure from a lot of activist shareholders and others to really slash employee costs, when there are a lot of other things that they could do that would create a better outcome in 5 to 10 years, but the stock market and the pressure from activist shareholders makes it really hard to do that. So I think we've got to look at corporate law. We've got to look at how we try to create better circumstances for people to organize. And I'm committed to doing all of that, because the story you're telling me is one I hear in lots of places. Yeah. Yes?
Shitam Boyd. I am a small business owner as well, very small, 8 people. I have a 2-year-old daughter. So there is, just kind of to piggyback on a few of the issues, you talk about health care. As a small business owner, not only are you trying to provide benefits to your employees, you're trying to provide benefits to yourself. So I have seen our health insurance for my own family go up $500 a month in the last 2 years. So we went from 400 something to 900 something. So we're just fighting to keep benefits for ourselves.
Right.
The thought of being able to provide benefits to your employees is almost secondary. Yet to keep your employees happy, that's a question that comes across my desk all the time. I have to keep my employees as independent contractors for the most part, really to avoid that situation. And so I have turnover. They go to a job where they do have benefits. Same thing. I get women that, I'm very lucky. I have a woman who's retired, which is great, so she's willing to work because she has benefits from the government. But if I can't provide benefits, let alone for myself, I can't provide them for my family. The reason our insurance has gone up so much is we do not qualify for a subsidy on the current health insurance plan. We unfortunately make just over too much money within that gap. So I guess my question to you is, not only are you looking out for people that can't afford health care, but I'm someone that can afford it, but it's taking a big chunk out of the money I bring home for myself. So
is the policy that you now have one you got off of the exchanges?
It's on the exchange.
Okay. Well, what you're saying is one of the real worries that we're facing with the cost of health insurance, because the costs are going up in a lot of markets, not all, but many markets. And what you're describing is one of the real challenges, because right now, like with so many of these programs, there's just a cutoff instead of what I would like to see, a kind of gradual diminishment. Like, people shouldn't just, once they get to a certain income level, lose all subsidy or lose all tax benefit or whatever else we could piece together that would enable you to make this more affordable for yourself. So that's something I'm looking at. I mean, I think that the Affordable Care Act is a big step forward for the vast majority of Americans, but we have to look at out-of-pocket costs, copays, deductibles, premiums, and we have to make the insurance companies justify what they are charging, because a lot of them are moving costs up without really explaining, or at least not to my satisfaction, why that's happening. And we need more nonprofit options for people, so that it's, that was the original idea, but a lot of them got started and they didn't know how to do what they wanted to do. They had great ideas, but didn't have the backup, so we need to go back and revisit that. I also am in favor of what's called the public option, so that people can buy into Medicare above a certain age, which will then take a lot of the pressure off the costs, because the argument is that costs go up because real-world experience means that people are getting sicker or the costs have to be spread. I want to get behind that, because I don't yet see the data to support that. But if you were able to move people 55 or 50 and up, who are the biggest users of health care, into the Medicare program, they would have to buy in, but they would be buying into such a big program that the costs would be more distributed. So there's a lot of things I'm looking at to try to figure out how to deal with exactly the problem you're talking about. And there are some good ideas out there, but we have to subject them to the real world test. Will this really help, like a small business owner or a family, be able to afford it? Because a $400 increase, assuming you didn't have some terrible health care event, which it doesn't sound like you did. Yeah, no.
I don't go to the doctor.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, that's my point. Is like, what could have possibly raised your costs $400? And that's what I don't understand. So that's what we've got to pick that apart and really make sure we understand it. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Rosemary Negrelli. I work in higher ed. I work at Northern Virginia Community College. I'm an academic counselor. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts about the cost of higher education. I have a 3-year-old. And I know, so right now I'm paying for, child care. So I would love to have already started an account for her to start saving for college, and that's not something that I've already done. And because of our income, that's not something that we're going to qualify for. So my question is, on behalf of my family and also on behalf of a lot of the disadvantaged families that can't really afford the cost of higher education, and for them it's a vehicle to better themselves and better their families.
Right. Well, that is one of the big differences between the Democrats, between Senator Sanders and myself, and the Republicans, because both of us have plans to make college affordable. Mm-hmm. And obviously I think my plan is better, but that we both have plans. At least we are recognizing how serious a problem this is for people. And so where I come down is this. I think community college should be free. Like, we need, and in a lot of places it's very low cost. And we need to get it as low cost as possible. To go back to your point about, what happens in elementary and secondary education, a lot of high school kids are ready to go to community college, and they need the chance to do that. And so there shouldn't be any cost with them going to community college, working on either getting a certificate of some kind of credential, whether it's in healthcare, where there are a lot of them, or in the trades and advanced skills or technology. There are literally jobs that young people coming out of community college can take right now, paying $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year if they have those skills. So let's make community college the extension of secondary school. And the other thing that's great about it now is if you go and you take liberal arts or you take more college courses, you are doing it at a much lower cost than if you go to a public college or university, let alone a private one. So that's a piece of it. The second piece of it is, under my plan, you would not have to borrow any money to attend a public college or university. And the way that would work is that if you were attending a 4-year public college or university, if your family could afford it, which would be, above a certain threshold, probably more than $250,000 in income, you would pay. And that's a difference I have with Senator Sanders, is he wants it to be free for everybody, and I think there are a couple of problems with that. One is that it would be very hard, I think, to justify, paying for my child to go to college or Donald Trump's child or grandchild to go. And the other is, if you say it's free, there's no incentive for the university to try to lower its costs. And I want there to be a give and take here. We will make it debt-free, but we still expect colleges and universities to rein in costs because tuition has gone up 42% in the last 10 years. It's really hard to justify that. And a lot of what kids are being asked to pay that show up on their semester bills are things that they shouldn't be paying for. Like, why should some young person who's struggling to put himself through college pay $600 for an activity fee that basically supports the football program? I just don't think that's right. I mean, let's be fair about this and look at what is it you have to pay to get your degree, and the university and the college has to come up with a more fair-minded, transparent way of passing those costs down. And I also want to, if we make it debt-free, then we will begin to deal with the other part of the cost, because if tuition is debt-free, that still doesn't meet all of the non-tuition costs that young people have to pay. So I want to move some of the federal programs like Pell Grants that are used now for tuition to support the non-tuition costs. Because when I taught at the University of Arkansas years ago, I taught at the law school, I realized there were so many of these really hard-working young people. A lot of them were already parents. They were going to college in their 20s. And they could scrape together the amount for tuition, but if their child care fell apart, if their old car that got them to and from campus fell apart, if there was a health emergency, they were out of luck. So I started something called the Arkansas Single Parent Scholarship Fund, where we came in not on the tuition side, but on the cost side to help pay for what would help keep them in school. And it's helped, like, it's just in Arkansas. I'd like to spread it around the country, but it's helped like 35,000 people finish their degrees in the last 35 years. Then I want, if you do public service jobs like teaching, like law enforcement, like firefighters, social workers, those kinds of jobs, you should be absolutely supported in getting your other costs met. So you combine that with paying down the debt people already have. How many people here have student debt? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. I mean, I did. If I were your age again, I would be raising my hand. So we've got $1.2 trillion in student debt out there, and 40 million Americans, and some are just so weighted down they can't move out of their parents' basement. They can't take a job they want because it doesn't pay enough after they do their expenses, so they take jobs they don't want to be paying back their debt. So here's what I want to do. We have to get the interest rates down, and that means refinancing everybody's debt. Like you can refinance a mortgage or you can refinance a student or a car payment. We refinance student loans. It also means if you do public service work, we help you discount and forgive it. If you do national service, the same thing. So we're going at it from both sides. How do we make it affordable now so that your 3-year-old, you can actually imagine you can pay for it? And how do we get the debt that's already out there down? And I think if we go from both ends, we can actually deal with the problem that you're talking about.
Secretary,
Yeah.
how do you deal with the state disinvestment?
The what?
State disinvestment in higher education that is affecting our public
100%.
state colleges and universities.
Well, part of my plan, in addition to trying to get the colleges and universities to rein in their costs, is to provide incentives to get states to reinvest, because you're 100% right. States have, in large measure, walked away from investing in higher education. And that was the crown jewel of our education system, our state systems. You know, we have obviously great private institutions